Have you seen this breaking one about Nnamdi Kanu? They said Kanu is fit for trial, ailment not life-threatening, NMA. That's the word out of the Federal High Court in Abuja today, and trust me, this one is heavy. Before I dive deep, do me a favor, like this video, hit subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you're always first to get news that matters. Alright, let's talk. So here's what's going on. The Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, after being ordered by the court, set up a medical panel. That panel examined Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, to check his health condition. There had been conflicting reports. The defense was saying he had ailments serious enough to affect his capacity. The prosecution had a different view. But now, after their independent assessment, the NMA says his illness is not life-threatening, and he is fit to stand trial. Given that, the court, presided by Justice James Omotosho, accepted the report, since neither side objected, and declared that Kanu can proceed with the trial. The judge has also granted him 6 consecutive days, starting from October 23rd, to open and close his defense. Now, here's a notable side decision. Kanu's lead lawyer, Chief Kanu Agabi, SAN, requested that their discussions with him not happen in the Department of State Services, DSS, facility where Kanu is held. The fear was that the DSS might tap or record their consultations. The court granted this request. Those consultations will happen in the courtroom, privately, with only Kanu and his lawyers present. That meeting is scheduled for October 22nd, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. So, the stage is set. The trial resumes October 23rd. There are a few things here we need to chew over together. First, what does fit to stand trial mean in practice? It means that medically, Kanu is judged capable of understanding the charges against him, participating meaningfully in his defense, instructing his lawyers, following the proceedings. It doesn't mean he's completely healthy, but rather that his condition doesn't prevent him from doing what's required in court. The NMA is clear, his ailment is not life-threatening. Second, this outcome possibly deflates one of the main lines of defense. Earlier, Kanu's legal team had argued that his health condition was serious enough to demand transfer to National Hospital, or at least that he wasn't fit in his current detention environment. The NMA's verdict challenges that claim. Third, consider the optics and tensions. Some Nigerians see this as necessary for justice, others might see bias or pressure. The neutrality of medical panels, especially in politically charged cases, is always under scrutiny. Also, even though the NMA is seen as a professional body, the bigger question is, was the panel truly independent? Was the assessment thorough? Were there adequate medical resources? Was transparency maintained? We must ask those. If there were conflicting medical reports earlier, how deep were those conflicts? Let's talk about how this links to broader national tension. Kanu and IPOB have been central to secessionist agitation in the Southeast. His trial is not just legal, it's political, symbolic, emotional for many Nigerians. The decision that he's fit to proceed means the legal process must run its course. It forces both state and supporters to contend with the courtroom, not just in the streets or media. It also could affect how protest or activism are timed, especially with plans for demonstration in Abuja reportedly scheduled for October 20th by supporters calling for his unconditional release. Another side angle, the legal strategy. By granting Kanu 6 days to open and close his defense, the court is giving significant weight to his side's chance to make a full presentation. But it's tight. 6 days isn't long when your defense might be complex. Preparation matters. Also, the approval for private consultation matters. That's a protection against undue interference. The lawyers will have those few hours in court with him before resumption. I want you to think about this. It raises questions. In such politically sensitive trials, how do we ensure fairness, impartiality? Will the judiciary stand firm under pressure? Will evidence be handled properly? Will medical claims be challenged or re-examined by independent observers? Also, how would this verdict affect public opinion, particularly in the Southeast, among IPOB sympathizers, or among those concerned about national security and unity? So right now, the public is watching. Some will say, finally, the court is getting serious. Others will say, let's see whether justice is done, or whether this is just theater. Either way, The next proceedings, from October 23rd onward, will be closely watched, dissected, contested. I'll be following every development, and I know you want updates. So I bring you live reports, analysis, reactions. Meanwhile, drop in the comments your take. Do you believe the NMA's report? Do you think the trial will be fair? What should be the markers of a fair trial, especially in such a case? Don't forget, if you're liking this coverage, smash that like button, subscribe, share with friends so they stay informed too. So, since this latest development came out, reactions have been flowing in from different corners, political analysts, lawyers, and even some human rights activists. Many are saying the Nigerian Medical Association's NMA statement that Kanu is fit for trial is not surprising, but the timing and interpretation are what people are debating. You see, for months, Kanu's defense team has maintained that his health was deteriorating in DSS custody. They said he needed better medical care and access to his personal doctors. At different times, they filed motions for him to be transferred to a regular hospital, arguing that the DSS medical facility was inadequate. But now, with the NMA saying his ailment isn't life-threatening, the court is basically saying, let's move on with the trial. Some Nigerians are interpreting this as a sign that the court wants to speed up proceedings, maybe to close this long-running chapter that has dragged since 2021. Remember, this case started after Kanu was rearrested and brought back to Nigeria from Kenya. Since then, it's been adjournment upon adjournments, bail revocations, and legal back and forth that kept the case from making real progress. But this new ruling seems to be shifting that. The judge has given specific dates, from October 23rd for 6 straight days, for the trial to go on without delay. That means both sides will need to be fully ready. And here's where it gets interesting. Sources close to the legal team say Kanu's lawyers are planning to present strong arguments around constitutional rights, fair hearing, and even how his extraordinary rendition from Kenya violated international law. Now, whether those arguments will hold water in court is another matter entirely. But one thing is sure, this will be a major media moment. Nigerian politics is always layered with emotion, and Kanu's case touches sensitive issues, justice, national unity, and security. You'll notice how anytime there's a development in this case, it dominates headlines, social media, and public discussions, especially among Nigerians in the southeast and the diaspora. Let's also talk about the DSS angle again. You recall that Kanu's team complained that their conversations with him at the DSS facility were being monitored. The court granting them permission to meet inside the courtroom, privately, is a big win for his defense. It shows the judiciary recognizes the importance of privacy in lawyer-client communication. That's a constitutional right, by the way. If they can't speak freely, the defense is weakened. So that private meeting on October 22nd is a critical step before the main trial resumes. Now, one question that keeps popping up is, what will happen if Kanu is eventually found guilty or not guilty? If he's acquitted, what does that mean for IPOB and the agitation for Biafra? And if he's convicted, how will his supporters react? These are tough questions. We've seen how previous events related to his case have sometimes triggered protests and sit-at-home orders in the southeast. The government has been trying to manage that tension. But emotions are still high, especially when people feel justice is not being served equally across the board. And talking about justice, there's another point that needs to be discussed, Nigeria's larger issue of trust in institutions. A lot of Nigerians don't trust that government agencies will act neutrally in cases like this. So when the NMA, a respected professional body, steps in to assess Kanu's health, some people are still skeptical. They are asking, who selected the doctors? Were they truly independent? Was Kanu allowed to have his own observers there? Those are valid questions that deserve answers. Another layer of this gist is the political one. You know how in Nigeria, legal and political matters often overlap. Some political commentators are saying this could affect how different regions perceive the government. The Southeast has often complained of marginalization, and this trial could either help rebuild trust or worsen the feeling of exclusion, depending on how it's handled. That's why this isn't just about one man. It's about how Nigeria manages dissent, national identity, and justice. Everyone is watching how this unfolds because it will set an example for how high-profile cases are treated in the future. Now, let's also not forget that this case has international interest. Groups abroad have been following it closely, from human rights organizations to diaspora supporters. Some have even submitted petitions to the United Nations, alleging violations of due process in Kanu's arrest and detention. The Nigerian government, on its part, insists it's simply following the law and handling a terrorism-related case like any other serious offense. All of these dynamics are what make this story so captivating. It's not just a courtroom drama, it's a reflection of Nigeria's political, social, and ethnic complexities. And let me say this, as we approach October 23rd, the media spotlight will only intensify. Expect interviews, protests, counter-statements, and a lot of commentary. The key thing Nigerians want is fairness. Whether one supports or opposes Kanu's ideology, people just want to see that justice is transparent and consistent. Before I wrap up this segment, I want to hear from you. Do you think the NMA's report settles the health issue once and for all? Do you believe Kanu will get a fair trial this time? And what does this mean for peace and unity in Nigeria? Drop your thoughts in the comment section. And please, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update. Because trust me, when the court resumes on October 23rd, the details, reactions, and possible surprises from that trial will break everything down here for you, in simple, clear language like we always do.